Welcome to Saga Thing, where we're putting the sagas of the Icelanders on trial. I'm John.
And I'm Andy. And in this episode, we are judging Droplaug Saga, the Saga of the Sons of Droplaug. And it's been a little while getting here. We've been working our way through this one a little slow.
This is our third episode on Droplaug Saga, and the end of our third consecutive saga telling a loosely connected series of stories set in the far-off northeast of Iceland.
That's right. We began with Thorstein the White, the mini-saga about a feud between Thorstein the Fair and the family of Thorstein the White. And then we moved into Vapnfjörðinga saga, and the story of Thorstein's grandson, Brod Helgi, and Helgi's son, Bjarni Brod Helgason. And they had a feud with the father and son team of Getir Lutingsson and his son, Thorkel Gateson. I know you guys like names.
Rattling
Here
off
you
those
go.
names. Yeah. And now we've been covering the Droplaugarsons, who are the cousins of Thorkel Gateson.
Almost like we had a plan.
Almost. Let's not go overboard.
Or like we're just going in order in the book that we're working our way through.
Close to it. Although the book sets up the order nicely. So the first episode on this saga focused on the upstart Helgi Droplaugarson and his hobby of annoying the local chieftain Helgi Asbjarnarson by taking up and winning legal cases against him.
It's more than a hobby, though. The man was an artist at being annoying.
Fair enough. So we ended that first episode with Helgi and his brother Grim Droplaugarson helping their cousin Ranveig to divorce her husband, Thorgrim Skincap.
Well, and she threw his clothes into a cesspit, which is pretty cool.
She did. She did do that, yes.
But Skincap had his revenge by running and telling Helgi Asbjarnarson that the brothers were on the road and vulnerable to attack.
Yes, and so the second part of the saga opened with Helgi Asbjarnarson leading an attack on the Droplaugarsons. Helgi Droplaugarson and 9 other men were killed in the fight, and both Grim Droplaugarson and Helgi Asbjarnarson were badly wounded.
Everyone actually thought that Grim had died as well, but his clever Aunt Groa hides him while he recovers from his injuries. She was a crafty one, wasn't she?
Yes, she was, and the rest of the story dealt with Grim assassinating Helgi Asbjarnarson several years later, and then turning to a life of outlawry. And eventually, he and his family left Iceland, and Grim later died after a duel with a Norwegian Viking.
So ultimately, this was a tightly structured feud saga, I think. And we're both pretty happy with it, right?
Yeah, I think you're just trying to bait me into giving this thing a final rating straight off.
I always do that.
We will get to that. First, there are some other categories to judge.
Well then, let's not shilly-shally. Let's get started.
I'm ready. I've been ready.
And yet we're still talking.
Best bloodshed.
Now, I have to admit, John, I was a little concerned about what we do for Best Bloodshed when I first started reading this saga.
Yeah, me too. We had some deaths and killings in the first part, but nothing spectacular.
No.
Spear through a dung beetle here, an axe blow for an unwanted stepfather there.
Yeah.
But by the end of that first summary episode, I don't think we had a single great candidate for Best Bloodshed.
No, I mean, we might have considered Droplaug 2 falling through the ice with her 2 slaves, maybe, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose we could have. It's just a horrible accident, though.
Yeah, and helpful in a saga with a relatively low body count, I might add.
Sure, but it doesn't exactly meet the criteria for Best Bloodshed.
Criteria? We have criteria now? When did this happen?
Well, we've always had criteria. We're looking for the best examples of bloodshed.
Oh, it's in the title.
Spectacular moments.
Yeah.
Not much spectacular, not much bloody involved in Droplaug falling through the ice.
Yeah. Although I'd consider a good drowning or maybe another bloodless injury and other deaths for this category if the author makes it worth my while. But in this case, our buddy Thorvald Ingilson just doesn't really hit his stride as a storyteller until the Battle of the Two Helgis.
Well, I mean, that's only true if we're mainly concerned with blood, guts, and body count. Once he gets past that heap of names at the start of the saga, I think things are moving along at a nice clip. But from a violence perspective, you're absolutely right. It's only when we finally get to the climax of the Helgi versus Helgi conflict that things start popping.
You know, honestly, the whole battle makes for one great Best Bloodshed candidate. Can we just give it to that?
It's good stuff. And as much as I want to agree, I think it's going to be more fun to break this down into its gruesome parts so that we can give the award to the man who deserves it most.
Gruesome's right. I mean, one of the things that really sets this scene apart from the other battles we've seen in the sagas is the incredible specificity of the descriptions.
Right. You mentioned in the last summary episode that those vivid descriptions remind you of no less a text than Homer's Iliad.
They do.
You going to stick by that?
I'm going to stick by that. And I was looking around, and I'm not the only one to notice this. I stumbled upon none other than Frederick York Powell
Oh.
And he was discussing this very same thing. I was looking at the translation that he has, that he did with Guthbrand Vigfusson, and he highlights this battle in particular for, as he says, its Homeric power.
Aha.
Helgi's last stand is told, as he puts it, in a direct epic fashion that recalls... I should probably put on a haughty British accent. I'm assuming that's what... An old 19th century British scholar. I'd probably offend my brother-in-law just now. But he says that the story is told in a direct epic fashion that recalls the finest parts of the Iliad battles. He does lament that there must be more to the saga that's missing, and I want to agree. I wish there was more.
He thinks there's more out there, right?
Yeah, he does, yeah. I mean, obviously, this saga is a compilation of episodes. I think that's fairly clear from the way that the narrative shifts around. But it leaves a whole lot of plot holes that must have been dealt with elsewhere, he assumes.
Right, remember we talked about another scholar who thinks that there was an earlier, simpler, but longer version of this saga.
Yeah, exactly. And he's looking for a more specific cause to the enmity between the two Helgis. It's not quite enough what we've got here for him. He also wants more detail on the story of Grim and Earl Osbjorn, which is hinted at in the Lanamabok. And then finally some more stuff about Hrafnkelgovi.
Well, he just wants more of everything. I mean, what is there to suggest that Hrafnkel should have a bigger part than he does?
In my opinion, nothing really. I think Powell's just looking for more from the story and assumes, like many scholars of his age, that an absence of what you're looking for reveals more than just an absence.
That just sounds like wish fulfillment to me, not good scholarship.
It is. It's not good scholarship by today's standards, but I think we're supposed to be showing our appreciation for Thorvald Ingildson's accomplishments in describing bloodshed here, aren't we?
Well, then stop revving our motor and let's get going.
All right. Why don't you go first? What's your first candidate?
Okay. Well, I'm going to skip the preliminaries and, in fact, all of episode 1 and go directly to this saga's Sam Peckinpah moment. When Helgi Asbjørnsson's ambush of the Droplaugarsons becomes a Grand Guignol of epic proportions.
Oh, a Grand Guignol, of course.
Yes, quite grand, in fact. And Asbjørnsson himself is the first
I wouldn't even know
victim.
how to spell that, John.
Grand.
I know grand.
Guignol.
You sure there's not an E on that grand?
No, I am. It was a Parisian theater that was famous for its realistic violence. That's where it comes from.
How apropos, if I may.
There you go. That's all the Poe I was going for. So in this battle, both Droplaugarsson brothers begin by hurling spears at their enemy Asbjørnsson simultaneously.
That's right. Helgi lets Grim choose whether to throw high or low, and Grim chooses to make the higher throw.
Right. And the saga continues, and Grim's spear pierced through the shield, and Asbjørnsson was not wounded by that. But Helgi Droplaugarsson aimed at his kneecap, and the spear glanced from there down into the leg. Asbjørnsson's leg split right down through the instep, so that he was disabled at once.
You know, that's awful right off the bat. I mean, this is the first blow of the battle. And as we learn later, Helgi's bedridden for an entire winter trying to heal his leg. And I would imagine more if you really thought about it.
Well, I mean, when you think about it, we never actually see him travel far from home again.
Right.
So it looks like his injury might have permanent consequences. He may not really be capable of traveling. But it also sets up the chaotic nature of this fight. Helgi Asbjørnsson is the leader of the attacking force, and a lucky spear throw rips his leg open and puts him out of the fight before it even begins. It's a good one, and it speaks to the vicissitudes of battle, just the random chance once the blades start flying.
Yeah, I love how he follows the line of the weapon throughout this whole battle. It's not so simple as the spear caught him in the leg. A lot happens when a spear strikes home.
Yeah.
I say good job, Thorvald, assuming you wrote this.
Right. So what's your first candidate?
Well, I'd like to start with one of the more surprising and cringe-inducing bits of violence that I've seen since Killer Skuta left a naked Grim to be devoured by flies on an island in Mývatn Lake.
That was a rough one. I forgot about that one.
Yeah, well, this one's a rough one too. Just in a different and ultimately less harmful way, if I may. Of course, I'm talking about poor Thord Cormorant.
Poor Thord Cormorant.
I don't think we heard of Thord before this battle, but he's introduced as a spy of Helgi Asbjørnsson. And when the battle begins, Thord somehow falls into the river. I'm not sure how that happened.
Well, I think it was presented as a deliberate act, but if he was smart, given what happens next, he would have just floated on down that river and away from his fate.
But he didn't. He rushed toward his fate. And instead, something far more amusing and grim happens. Thord rejoins the battle with frozen clothes. He climbs a snowdrift and then rushes at Helgi Droplaug, but Helgi sees him coming, and we're told Helgi threw the spear between his legs and right through his scrotum. And Thord fell backwards then, and the spear stuck fast in the snowdrift. And Thord hung there on the snowdrift all day.
I still can't decide which part hurts me more. The initial piercing of the scrotum or the phrase, he hung there all day.
You know that scream that we have at the beginning of the Best Bloodshed section?
Right.
It's actually Thord Cormorant.
There you go. It's the Wilhelm scream of the sagas.
Yes, right. Now, I think the initial piercing would be quite shocking, but relatively painless in the moment. It's afterwards when you're hanging there by your pierced scrotum that the horror really sinks in.
Right.
Either way, I can't imagine a worse way to watch the rest of this battle.
Right. And you have to think, I mean, when you read it just now, it occurred to me that they really do make it sound as if Helgi deliberately aims.
Oh, yeah.
Right. He threw the spear between his legs. Like, this is not random chance that he gets hit there.
Right. To prepare for tonight, I actually looked at the Icelandic, and so I offered more of my own translation than the translation that's in the text. And yeah, he's definitely looking to throw it right between the legs.
Oof. Now my question is, why does Thord end up there all day? Why doesn't anybody help the poor guy?
Well, they're busy defending their lives and stuff. But and also, maybe he tried to call for help, but his voice was suddenly so high that only dogs could hear it. Oh. Anyway, what's next, John?
Yeah, well, Thord's a tough act to follow, but I'll try. This is still part of the same battle.
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to leave this battle at all for Best Bloodshed, and I don't know why we would.
We'll see. This time we're looking at Helgi Droplaugson's fight with Hirandi of Ongelsa.
Ah, yes, Hirandi, whose name I sometimes stumble over. He's one of two brothers who tried to rush Helgi, but his brother Kari was killed before they reached him.
Right, so Helgi and Hirandi exchange blows for a few minutes before Helgi pulls a skillful move and swaps his sword and shield hands in mid-fight.
Now, I assume we need to make a I am not left-handed joke right now, don't we?
I mean, you can if you want, but in fact, he's switching the sword to his left hand.
I am not right-handed.
I am not right-handed.
Now, this is a move that turns up surprisingly often in the sagas. The fighter tosses his weapon and shield through the air and then gains a second's advantage by surprising his opponent.
Right. And Helgi puts that moment to good use. He slashes at Hirandi's leg, disabling him. But, we're told, in that moment, Hirandi struck at Helgi, who warded off the blow with his shield. But the sword sprang up into his face and into his row of teeth, cutting off the lower lip.
Yeah, that one's brutal.
Yeah.
So Helgi gets a mouthful of sword and then loses his lower lip completely, and I assume several teeth along the way.
Yeah, no, it's a nasty injury, but the follow-up is what makes it. Not only does Helgi spit out a great line, which I'm sure we'll get to in witticisms.
We'll see.
But he then stuffs his beard into his mouth to staunch the blood flow. So blood, beard, and teeth. Now that's a great bloodshed moment.
It's a great one. Absolutely. All right, so the last one I've got is the death of Helgi Droplaug. So now imagine he's got his beard in his mouth and the blood is flowing. He's got no lower lip. He was attempting to finish off the wounded Helgi A when Ozur stabbed him with a spear. Now, I'm not offering this one because of the blow itself, but for how Helgi handles it. He's got a spear going through him, and the saga tells us, Helgi walked forward onto the spear and said to Ozur, "Now you've betrayed me."
Well, he does sound awfully good for a guy with no lower lip.
Oh.
No, now you're back to Gumby.
Now you've betrayed me. How would you do a B sound with no lower lip?
I imagine quite sloppily.
Yeah, I think so. Now you've betrayed me.
Betrayed me.
With all the blood and the beard, yeah.
That's
anyway,
terrible.
You're interrupting my scene.
Sorry, carry on.
So Ozur saw that Helgi was turning towards him and about to strike. He would reach him with the sword. Then he pushed the spear and everything with it away. Ozur then forces the spear into the ground, knocking Helgi over.
That's a great death for Helgi.
Yeah. I mean, even after he's got a spear through him, he keeps coming.
Yep. What does he have to lose at that point?
Well, not much, to be honest. He does gain a lot of respect, though. I mean, that guy's got moxie. I like him.
Moxie.
Moxie.
Yeah, that's exactly the word I'd use to describe a guy who pushes himself onto a spear to get him at his enemy.
Yeah.
Hey, did you see Helgi climb the spear before dying? I like the cut of his jib.
He's got a great, well, not anymore, really. His jib's been cut.
Right.
All right. Now, I think you have one more candidate, even if I already know it's not worth considering now that we're at the end of this battle.
Oh, now. I think we ought to include at least one candidate from a different part of the saga. So I'm going to nominate Grim Droplaug killing Helgi as Bjarnason.
All right. Not really very bloody, though, is it? I mean, think about it.
Well, I mean, it's not bloody compared to Grim's brother drooling blood and teeth as he dies impaled on a spear, no. But this is a great death all its own, and it's even more enjoyable when you read it as a riff on Gisli Saga.
Sure. All right. We'll allow it. Go ahead.
Oh, so generous. So kind. So the brief version is that Grim creeps into Helgi's farmhouse, locates Helgi among all the sleeping guests in the building, and then reaches into the bed to be sure he has the right victim. Once he knows he's got Helgi, he says, "Stay awake now, Helgi. That's enough sleeping." And then Grim thrusts with his brother's sword so that it pierces Helgi right through.
Yes. Not as spectacular as the others, but a cold-blooded moment of revenge, and good for that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like that it's also the moment that signals the saga's move from a standard revenge narrative into the tropes of outlaw sagas.
Yes.
And it does that by evoking Gisli Saga, or at least in my reading it does.
Yeah, good point.
From this point on, Grim's an outlaw, and he employs tricks even just in escaping from the farm. Right? So he's a trickster now.
All right. So rather than rehearse the outlaw stuff, is that your last one? We're done?
It is. So what do we think?
Well, I think we've really got two candidates here. Mm-hmm. We've got a scrotal sac being pierced.
Yep.
And we've got a lip being cut off.
Yep.
They're both equally fantastic in their own way.
They really are.
So, I mean...
in very different ways.
Can we have the sac and the lip come up together? And
heads or tails?
There you go. Yeah, I don't know. I mean... in terms of what Best Bloodshed at its core is, I would guess it would be Helgi Droplaug's mouth getting cut.
Right.
But in terms of fantastic bloodsheddy moments, I mean, how do you beat
riding the spear shaft is hard to beat.
Yeah, right. So I mean, it seems shameful to let Helgi Droplaug go, but
I don't know. I mean, that's the scrotum piercing is brutal. But boy, that image of Helgi shoving his beard into his mouth, sort of teeth and drool pouring out as he tries to carry on long enough to finish killing his enemy. It's a tough one.
It is.
It's a tough one.
It is. I mean, I guess the knock against the first one is it's almost kind of like for the modern audience anyway, certainly not for anyone who's experienced something like this, kind of a bit of a funny, jokey, haha.
Right, it's a little bit more slapstick.
A little more slapstick, a little childish on our part for even making a big deal out of it.
Well, what is this for if not for us to behave childishly?
Yeah, that's true. But maybe we should be men like Helgi Droplaug and give it to a real man.
There you go. It's right. Appeal to an unreconstructed idea of manhood. That's the best way to reclaim our maturity.
There you go.
All right, let's I know we're going to get emails about this one, but I agree. I think we have to give it to Helgi chewing on his own beard to keep from bleeding out from his mouth wound.
I agree. Although I want to give a very strong honorable mention to Thord's scrotal sac, if I could.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right.
Body count.
Not much need to linger over this one. John and I came up with the same number, although, as usual, I think we could debate a death here or there.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose we could argue whether or not to include someone like Asbjorn Skerryblaze, the father of Arnheid.
Yeah, we only learned about him from Arneid's report about how she ended up a slave in Vathorm's household, so...
right.
Not great.
And then the other questionable death was Eindridi.
Now, I know exactly who Eindridi is, but I'm willing to bet that some of our listeners might not know.
Or care?
I think that is probably the truest thing we've ever said on the podcast.
Yeah.
But Eindridi, because I'm going to tell you anyway, is the son of Hallstein, the guy who married Droplaug and got killed by Helgi and the servant. Now, Eindridi, he traveled abroad at some point and got himself into some trouble in Ireland, and then his brothers, who we mostly referred to as the Halsteinsons, the 1 or 2 times we mentioned them, they sailed to save him, but that, alas, they arrived too late and he died.
Excellent. Yes, that's exactly what happened. And then those other 2 brothers were killed by Grim Droplaugarson at the big battle. Now, I asked you, did you include Eindridi in the final body count today? I already know the answer because we came up with the same answer.
Well, yes, I did. He may not, I mean, honestly, I think he may not be a significant part of the saga, but his name pops up more than once. He's kind of part of the action, so I'm happy to include him, I guess. Happy is a strong word.
You know, he's sort of a plot point. I mean, his trouble in Ireland is why he and his brothers aren't around when their father is killed, and it's why only later on are they back to seek revenge. So it's a significant moment, even if he himself is not a significant figure.
Exactly.
Now, what about Asbjorn Skerryblaze?
Well, I think I'm less inclined to include him. But if you feel like making a case, you go ahead and I'll consider it, and then I'll reject it.
Absolutely not.
There you go.
Asbjorn is only reported. He never appears in the saga. His death happens before the saga begins. And so, as far as I'm concerned, Asbjorn is out of luck.
All right, then. That makes a total of 21 for our body count. And as always, we should not forget the poor animals. 2 oxen perished in the ice with Droplaug 2. May they rest in peace.
You and your soft spot for oxen. It's a hazard of the job. They were brave oxen.
Well.
Now, what about our body count density measurement?
Our BCDM?
That's the one.
The math is relatively easy on this one. We've got a body count of 21 and a Hrafnkel measurement of 1.05.
Right. So, are you going to tell me that the number is 21?
No. No, you're just trying to play like you know math. Son of a...
Oh, I know math, but I wanted to know whether you'd come up with that number.
I clearly came up with the number because I'm prepared.
So the number is?
Well, the BCDM is an even 20. Apparently that 0.05 plays a significant role, which was quite surprising to me. Right.
Well, it's 1/20th, isn't it?
Well, I mean, but that... Yeah, well, I'm not going to get into an argument because I don't even know what you just said, but go ahead. All
right. Well, I'm thinking that that's not a particularly impressive number, 21. Or 20, rather.
Well, it depends on your perspective, really. It's better than most of the Warrior Poet sagas.
Well, that doesn't impress me.
So do you think a BCDM of 20 is better or worse than something like Grettir Saga?
Grettir Saga?
Yeah.
At a guess, I'd say slightly worse. Probably only slightly.
You know what? It is just very slightly worse. Grettir Saga came in at 21.17, I think. So it's very, very close. So all the page count, the word count, it counts, as they say.
Right. No,
all right.
We're definitely finding that there's a sweet spot somewhere around 20 for a lot of the sagas.
There really is. Yeah. If you scroll through our body count section, I think you're going to see a lot of things right between 17 and 22.
Yep.
Unless you got a woman killing a whole group of men running out of a cabin. So,
right. You do get the occasional outlier. So that ends another fascinating segment of body count.
Yeah, fascinating.
Nicknames.
Hey everybody, it's time for nicknames with Johnny Sexton. It's time to learn the stories behind the names of the sagas. John, what do you got for us this week?
Well, this saga is about typical for its length, with close to 20 nicknames recorded. Now, as always, some of those fall into the usual array of simple descriptive names. Bersi the Wise, Helgi the Lean, Red Ale, that sort of thing. And there are also a couple we've seen before and already covered, like Kettle Thrym, who we met in Thorstein the White saga. Some of the others, though, are just good fun. I want to start with the strange phenomenon of bird names in this saga. We talked a bit about Thorkel Crane and his hydrophobia last time, and I haven't got much to add except the possible irony of a water bird nickname for a man who can't swim. But we've also got 2 Norwegians named Sigurd Cormorant and Thord Cormorant, or Skarver.
Poor Thord.
Yeah. Now, Thord is the unfortunate fellow we mentioned earlier who winds up with a spear through his bathing suit area. They both take Helgi Asbjarnarsson's side in the battle with the Droplaugarsons, and they're both injured. But as far as I can tell, that's where their connection ends. There's no apparent link between the two of them, which is driving me crazy, because their name is so evocative. A cormorant is a fish-eating bird, right? In Peru, Japan, China, and Egypt, there are actually traditional fishing methods in which fishermen use semi-trained cormorants to catch fish.
Oh, is this where they put the ring around their neck?
Yeah, exactly. So they can't swallow large fish.
Yeah.
And they have to bring them back to the fishermen to get them out of their throat.
Right.
So Sigurd and Thord are both Norwegian. In medieval Norway, the cormorant was an omen of good luck to seafarers.
Oh.
It was believed that the souls of lost sailors could visit their families in the form of cormorants. So there's something going on with this nickname, but whether it was a lucky name for a Norwegian sailor, or whether it indicates something more spiritual or supernatural, I can't quite say. But it's very interesting to me nonetheless. But moving on to the ones I can say something more definitive about. Porridge Atli. This is a nice nickname. Grautur means groat porridge or rough porridge, a kind of ready-to-eat meal popular with poorer Scandinavian farmers. In many households, the grautur would be on a nearly constant boil in a kettle during the summer months. Right? It's an easy meal for people who are working all day. You can kind of just stop by, grab a bowl full, and then go back to work. It's a peasant food, which suggests that Atli either isn't well off or that he prefers a simple working man's diet. But on the other hand, I did find a definition suggesting that grautur might refer to a porridge dressed up with melted butter, which would put Atli into a different category, a category with someone like Thorgr Butterring from Rekdala Saga, right? A person known for their kind of ostentatious inclusion of butter, relatively expensive property, in their breakfast food.
I miss Butterring.
You do, don't you?
And I think of him quite often, to be honest with you. Anytime I see a pat of butter.
Well, right. You can't beat his name. I can't believe it's not Thorgr. Now, Thorgrim Dung Beetle is next. I read up on this one a little, but I know you said that you wanted to talk about this one, so I'm going to turn it over to you.
Ooh.
Andy, what do you got?
Why, thank you, John. It's nice to finally be a part of this section.
I'll be the judge of that.
All right, so I spent a good couple of hours, way too many hours when I was supposed to be doing something else, back in May, playing with our friend Thorgrim Dung Beetle. And now, we weren't reading the saga yet, but I was doing some kind of genealogy stuff for whatever we were doing at the time. And then the name Dung Beetle caught my eye. Yeah, the Icelandic is Thordufel or Tadufel. This is the name used for the Nordic dung beetle, which is different from the dung beetle that we think of as pushing balls of poop around. Now, I had a nice back and forth on Facebook about this with Harold Bertling, a real-life Norwegian, who helped me tease out the finer details.
Not a Norwegian companion.
No. Well, I mean, in this case, he is my Norwegian companion, so if he's listening,
fair point,
he should duck.
Duck, Harold.
Anyway, we kind of got it teased out together, the finer details on Thordevel, kind of going over the etymology and the entomology online. Now, you can find that post by searching out Saga Thing podcast and Dung Beetle, and you might be surprised to find that it's the first thing that appears.
That is not surprising.
No? Well, the etymology, not entomology, is kind of interesting.
Although it could be both.
Because some people, I found, and this surprised me, but Harold was aware of this, want to connect the first part of the word Tor, they read it as Tor, with the Norse god Thor. Now, Harold suggested that this might be because of the buzzing sound that they make when flying, but I wasn't buying it. Okay. So I consulted Jacob Grimm's Teutonic Mythology, and then also a discussion of the subject by Asgeir Magnusson in a 1959 copy of Islandsk Tunga. Both of them reject the connection to mythology as nonsense and kind of deformations of the understanding. Now, that leaves us with the good old dung beetle. Tord is basically turd or excrement, and uvel is a form of the verb vefa, to weave. So it's literally something like dung weaver, which is appropriate given the fact that the Thordevel lives in the dung of large animals. Now, I don't think it takes a genius to discover what this nickname might suggest about the short-lived Thorgrim in our saga. Harold Bertling put it succinctly, I think, when he said, calling someone Tordeville may have been a not-so-subtle snub. Yeah, so I think...
Frankly, I'd be more surprised if it were meant to be anything else.
Right. So it's a nickname that speaks to Thorgrim's quality, likely, I think, as a nod to let the reader know what kind of guy we're dealing with. Now, I see no reason to assume or create a background story for how Thorgrim earned the nickname. It's probably just a simple literary device and no more. Now, that doesn't mean, of course, that the name dung beetle was never used in medieval or even modern Iceland or even here in the States, but that's it. And I'm spent. Now, I know I didn't say much more than Thorgrim is named after a dung beetle there, if you really think about it, but I tried to do it in the most John-like way I could possibly muster.
Well, you did a lovely job.
Thank you.
And I'm assuming now that now that you've been bitten by the radioactive dung beetle, that you'll be a super nicknamer from here on forward.
Oh,
and
yes.
I'll be able to take a break during this section.
Or I'll be weaving dung like nobody's business.
Hey, well...
Watch where you step, people.
Not very different from your usual slinging of feces.
No, it's just verbal feces that I'm good with.
So, now, interestingly, my next one is Thorarin Mold Grub. It's unusual to have one bug-based nickname in the saga, and I think it takes a special saga to have two. And it takes Droplaug saga to have two of them with the kind of connection that I'm going to make here. Now, when he's not distributing pants to his neighbors in need, Thorarin's walking around with the nickname Moldoxy, which is, the translation gives us mold grub, but mold, to be clear, meaning earth, not rock. Right, so earth grub is probably a clearer translation. Zoega, interestingly, just offers ox for oxy, but gives mold grub for mold oxy. And it's not clear to me why that would work that way. Now, in Danish, however, so Icelandic doesn't tell us any more than that, but in Danish, the muldox can be any of several grubs living in the earth. And unfortunately, none of this tells us why Thorarin is called earth grub. I don't have a full answer for that, but I can offer this. At least one modern Swedish translator renders moldoxy as dingbag or dung beetle.
No way.
So this may be a weird bit of recursive naming in this saga, with two figures being given variants on the same name.
I don't like it.
What can I tell you? Take it up with the Swedish translator.
I don't like it.
So our next one is Tova Hilson, or Hithrarsol. Tova's name is technically more like sun on the slope, which gives it a bit of the sound of a place name based on perception, like Sunnyside or Sunnydale.
Rolls right off the tongue, sun on the slope.
Yeah. Now, this is the only time her nickname shows up in the sagas, and so it's hard to make much of what it was meant to say about Tova. I couldn't find much of interest about the name, but I did find a discussion group agreeing that it's a terrible thing to call your child, but a great name for a daycare center.
Oh, that is good.
So I guess there's that. So we just need to now move to a Nordic country and open a daycare center called Hithasol.
Let's do it.
Yep. Now, okay, this next one I'm really pleased about. Thorgrim Skincap, the jilted ex-husband of the Droplaugerson's cousin Ronvig.
Mainly because his story is just so funny.
Well, there is that, but I'm going to explain to you just why this nickname makes it funnier. Thorgrim's name is in fact Skinhoof. Our translator and most translators render that as skin cap. But that's not the whole story. Zoega notes that the name can mean garments, hose, or cap made of skin. Now, Andy, you might remember that before she left Thorgrim's house, Ronvig pitched his clothes in the cesspit, forcing Thorgrim to streak to his neighbor's house covered only in a bedsheet.
Streak is a good choice of words there.
Yes, and I think this name actually means something more like Thorgrim skin garment or birthday suit. And that it indicates that his neighbor Thorarin couldn't resist retelling the story of Thorgrim's unorthodox visit to his door.
Yeah.
And that he ends up with a nickname based on this event.
So cap doesn't work really.
Right. So the nickname actually means sort of bear skin.
Or skin suit.
Skin suit, right. Birthday suit.
I like it.
Now we've got Thorkel Gloomy Poet.
Wait, can I just ask about...
Yep.
Typically, I would think if you said skin cap, I would assume that we're talking about someone who's bald.
Right. Although you could also... The inference could also be that he's wearing a
leather cap,
a hood made of hide. Yeah. But either way, cap seems to be only one of the possible interpretations.
What are some of the? I don't want to prolong this too much, but out of curiosity, do you remember other names for bald guys that we've run across?
Well, skull, right? Skallagrim is one example. So we've definitely had that.
I feel like we've hit a couple like recently, but I just don't remember them because I don't usually listen that closely.
Well, we speculated at one point that the name turtle shell, Orm turtle shell, might be a reference to a bald top.
Yeah, I didn't like that one either. Pate. But okay.
So yeah, we've had a few over the time, but I don't think this guy's bald. I think it's a reference to his little inadvertent streak across the countryside.
That's why they call him the Streak.
Now, Thorkel, gloomy poet. Thorkel's name is fairly straightforward, but it's a great name nonetheless. The name is actually Svartaskald, which means black poet or dark poet. And he's actually not the only poet with this nickname. There's a more famous poet of the 13th century, Olaf Svartaskald Legson.
Oh,
yes. Who is the court poet of the Norwegian king Haakon Haakonsson.
Yes. Everyone knows him.
Yeah, I figured you'd remember this guy. He was suspected of taking part in the assassination of Snorri Sturluson's son, John Snorrason.
Terrible.
There you go. Now, Olaf's nickname was a comparative. He's called Black Poet to differentiate him from another poet, Olaf White Poet. But Thorkel in this saga isn't being compared to anyone. So his name might be a simple physical descriptor of a man with notably dark hair or skin, but our translator has gone with using the name as a comment on Thorkel's affect, right? Dark-mooded poet. But I think the physical description makes at least as much sense, and again, is the one that is sort of attested somewhere else. And lastly, Gefjun the Skilled in Magic.
That's a descriptive nickname if ever I heard one.
It really is. Gefjun was the shadowy false healer whose poisons killed Grim Droplaug at the end of the saga. Her name, Fjolkung, means versed in magical art, or broken down to its components, something like much knowing in magic. Zoega does give skilled in magic as an idiomatic translation, but the broader much knowing seems to suggest more of Gefjun's role culturally. I think she seems to fall into the same cultural space as that midwife apothecary type that so often overlaps with witchery in later medieval literature. She certainly ends up representing an archetype, right? A woman whose knowledge of medicine and potions puts her into a powerful and uncomfortable position from the perspective of men. And her name is a marker of that role. So that's what we got, Andy. What do you think?
Well, I think from my perspective, I like the sound of Tolva Sun on the Slope. Lovely, lovely image. But
probably not worth opening a daycare center just to use it, though.
No. I have three people that I want to consider here. Thorgrim Dung Beetle, Thrarin Mold Grub, and what's Skincap's first name? Thorgrim. Oh, we got two Thorgrims. And Thorgrim Skincap. Now, going into this, I would have said that Thorgrim Dung Beetle should be the guy. But in reality, it's just like I said, a literary device to mark out someone who's not really a honorable fellow.
Right.
He's lowest of the low.
That's right.
I like the nickname. I like the chat that I had with Harold and all that stuff. The stuff you came up with Skincap, I'm really liking.
Yeah, I think we have to shift his nickname to something like Birthday Suit.
Yeah.
But I love that nickname once I realized what it referred to. So is that it? Are we awarding it to Thorgrim Birthday Suit?
Well, I like the name Skin Suit a little bit better just because I like the alliteration.
Skin Suit? All right.
I think it
very good.
It fits better with what you're very suggesting, good. Though Birthday Suit is pretty funny. And yes, 100% we are giving it to Thorgrim Skin Suit.
Thorgrim, try to accept the award with only one hand. Keep the other one on that bed sheet for us. Thank you. Notable witticisms. So notable witticisms is our chance to appreciate the saga maker's art. And for the first and last time in our Odyssey, we've got the author himself to give the award to. I mean, not the actual author. He died 7 centuries ago. But we can offer the award in memoriam to Thorvald Ingildsson. And I think we both agreed that Thorvald has produced a nicely written saga for us.
I'm not judging yet.
Well, the question is, How witty is he? Andy, what do we got?
Well, my first one fits in nicely with my contribution to nicknames.
So, limited?
You're so funny, I forgot to laugh. No. When Grim and Helgi get up early one morning, they are stopped by Aunt Groa, who asks where they're headed. They tell her that they're going to hunt ptarmigan. In reality, however, they're hunting Thorgrim Dung Beetle, the man who slandered their mother. And when they return, when they return to Avendara, Groa asks them what they managed to catch on their day out. Helgi says, "We've caught one dung beetle." Now, that's a little witticism, but a fun one, and I like it. They didn't catch any ptarmigan, but the lowly dung beetle makes for a much better catch for the Droplaugersons that day.
Yeah, that one's cute. Now, my first candidate is a broader bit of comedy. This is the moment when Thorgrim's skin cap, or Thorgrim's skin suit, as we've now decided to call him, is forced to run to his neighbor's house to rest only in a bedsheet. And his neighbor, Thorarin Moldgrub, finds a nearly naked friend at his door and says, "Why do you come here so early, Thorgrim, and rather thinly dressed?" And Thorgrim asks for help in the matter of his wife having divorced him, and Thorarin quite reasonably responds, "I want to give you some clothes first, because that's what you're most in need of at the moment."
It's a good line.
I agree.
There's
a lot of tragedy to come from this point in the saga, but that's a nice little comic interlude.
Yeah. Well, I've got another good one, although I don't think it'll win. So why bother mentioning it? Because it's good, that's why.
A fine question.
It's just after Helgi Droplaugerson forces his way up the spear in an attempt to get through Olzur, who's protecting Helgi Asbjarnarson.
Yep.
And as I said in Best Bloodshed, Olzur senses Helgi about to strike, so he pushes the spear back and then knocks Helgi to the ground. And when Helgi realizes what's happened, he says, "Now I delayed, while you, on the other hand, hurried."
That's a lot of H sounds for a guy with no lower lip.
No, the H's are you know.
Yes, but I think it would still come out as...
Well, anyway. Helgi then staggers away into the snow and dies. The whole scene resonates with me. And this final unironic and beautifully literal line caps the whole thing off beautifully. Again, probably not a winner, but a worthy candidate. Something good to say when you're done.
All right. Now, this next one is just a little moment. When Grim Droplaugerson plans to sneak across the land to Asbjarnarsson's house to avenge his brother's death, his in-law, Jorunn Einarsdottir, asks him where he's going. Grim invents a farmer who owes him a debt, and experience has shown that he does not want to pay. Jorunn offers to pay the money so that Grim won't have to travel abroad when his enemies are on the lookout for him. And Grim replies, "But then he won't pay." It's an understated moment of determination crouched in a clever bit of double meaning. It's just the sort of thing I look for in the sagas.
Good stuff.
Do you have any more?
Oh, just one little tidbit of a witticism. We already went over Helgi Droplaugerson's facial reconstruction during the battle in Best Bloodshed. And after the sword hit his face, cutting into his teeth and removing his lower lip, Helgi says, "I was never beautiful." I had to do the beautiful. "I was never beautiful, but you've made little improvement." And then he tucks his beard into his mouth and carries on with the fight.
That's right.
Now, if you're out there looking for a good example of what saga wit and understatement is, this is about as good as you'll get. I mean, you can't beat it, at least not in this saga. And if you vote for something else, then I think you're a fool.
No, that's certainly throwing down the gauntlet.
Let's see what you do.
No, I think that's absolutely right. I think this is a clear winner. I feel a little bit bad that we're giving all the awards to this one little moment in the saga, but it's a moment that sticks with you.
Yeah, it's a great moment. And if you're not going to read Droplaugerson on the saga, then just find this one battle and read that.
Right, but please read the whole saga.
You should read the whole saga.
Congratulations, Helgi.
Great job.
Outlawry. All right, so, Andy, I know this is always one of your favorite judgments. Outlawry is when we choose a nefarious figure from the saga and punish him or her for their crimes. But this time out, we're going to have a bit of an argument on our hands, I imagine. By my count, there are at least 3 or 4 potential candidates, but I want to hear what you think first.
Well, here's what I think, because I'm really conflicted. We have an outlawry section, and it is designed to identify the truly villainous outlaws that are worthy of exile. But here's the thing. The way that Droplaug Saga is written, no one, in my opinion, emerges as a clear villain or bad guy or someone who deserves outlaw.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, there are some people that do some shady things, let's say.
Shady?
Well, off the top of my head, Helgi Droplaug is involved in the killing of his stepfather. But not really, because a servant did that. He avenges his stepfather by killing the servant.
That servant was put up to killing Halstein
by whom? And can you prove it?
And Helgi. Yes.
I don't know. I don't know. Grim Droplaug. Also, some shady dealings when he sneaks into a house under cover of darkness and stabs a man to death.
I thought there's an extenuating circumstance there in that he's acting on revenge. Helgi and Droplaug, when they kill Halstein, it appears to be for no reason other than that Helgi doesn't like him and Droplaug seems to be tired of him.
Right. Well, let me ask you this real quick before we dismiss Grim.
Sure.
When a man kills another man in the Icelandic sagas under cover of darkness and then doesn't report what he's done to others, is that a slaying or is it murder?
Oh, that's a murder.
Oh, absolutely. It is. Okay. That's all. I just wanted to make that clear. What about...
It's a murder that parallels in every particular the murder committed by Gisli Sursen, who not only did we not outlaw, but you chose as thingmen.
What a great guy. He's a hero. Extenuating circumstances there, I'd say.
There you go. So
and I would also extend that same courtesy to my good friend Grim Droplaug.
There you go.
So I'm not
we've still got a couple of others.
Well, who?
Well, there is Thorgrim Dung Beetle.
Send him away. That son of a bitch.
And there's also Gefjon the Skilled in Magic.
Oh, well, okay, but there's a problem there.
I know there is.
You're bringing up someone who's in Norway. I'm totally down because we have a Viking in Norway that's horrible.
Yes, but we can't do that. But I wanted to bring her up because I was afraid that otherwise people would be screaming at their podcast.
Yeah.
As if anyone cares as much as we do about these things. But
most people
would be
aren't
upset with us
point.
for not considering Gefjon. But I just want to remind everybody that the rules are that they must commit crimes in Iceland to be exiled from Iceland. And Gefjon is a Norwegian who, as far as we know, never even visits Iceland.
I'll be honest with you. I'm willing to make an exception in this saga. Because
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Well, what about... you're talking about the death of Halstein earlier. I recalled 3 people being at that meeting.
That's right.
We had a servant who I think we can excuse because he was very likely forced to do what he was doing. But who's the mastermind? One wonders.
Oh, Droplaug.
Yeah. And who leaves as soon as the deed is done? Droplaug.
Droplaug escapes with her young son.
She does indeed.
So
guilty.
I think we have a fair choice there. But I believe it was you who said, "Can we prove it?"
Suspicious to say the least.
It is suspicious, and conveniently, she's already exiled herself, which would make things easier for us.
It would.
Personally, I think it comes down to Droplaug, Dung Beetle, or Helgi Droplaug.
Yeah, I'm not keen to outlaw Helgi for several reasons.
Okay. I suspect one of them being that you're hoping that he'll be available for thingmen, but
I'm not. Who says I'm on Helgi Droplaug's side? But
I do.
I would like to make the argument that in this particular saga, no one emerges as bad enough to exile. So would it be? Well,
remember that we do have the option of minor outlawry.
Minor outlawry.
We've used it before.
I guess I would settle.
I would accept minor outlawry for Droplaug, Helgi, or Thorgrim Dung Beetle.
You know what? I feel like Droplaug is suspicious and she's a little sneaky. I don't know a whole lot about her, but there's something that just doesn't feel right about that girl. Let's send her away.
Yeah. I mean,
because Dung Beetle already got a spear through the stomach.
she offs her own husband and then escapes Iceland without anyone ever bringing a charge against her.
Yeah, and what happened to
here,
Thorvald?
She cannot escape the judgment of our court.
That's correct. Which leads us to thingmen, doesn't it?
It does.
With Grim and Helgi still on the table.
Yes. Yes, you've gotten what you wanted.
or will I?
Thingmen.
All right. It is the time that gives me most stress. It is time to choose thingmen. And John very wisely chose to defer last time. Which means he's picking first this time. Which gives that is the source of my stress, people. Because John very often, I think he's going to do one thing and then he does another thing.
Yep. No, I think you know what I'm doing this time.
And then it disappoints me. And frustrates me. So, John.
Yes.
I don't want to beat around the bush and wait any longer.
Fair enough.
Give us your thingman choices and then choose one. Will you?
Well, I think there's a case to be made for 3 people in this saga.
I have 3 as well.
Really, there's only one choice that makes sense. I'm taking Thorvald Grimson, the kid who farted his defiance at the Norwegian Hneftafel player.
Excellent. Okay, that's recorded and it's...
Obviously, that's not right.
No. I'm going to edit all of this so that you get, all the people hear, is that you took the farter.
Thorvald the farter.
Thank you for saying that.
No, there are 3 real options in this saga. Helgi and Grim Droplaug and Helgi as Bjarnason.
Yes.
Now, of those... I thought about throwing you a curveball and picking Thorvald Ingjaldsson, our author.
Oh, that's kind of lame.
I felt that was a bit cutesy.
Yeah.
So I decided against it.
And laughable.
Right. Now, of the 3 options, I think only one man in this saga really lives up to the standards I expect of my thingman.
Oh, this is sounding good.
Helgi as Bjarnason is just not thingman material in my mind.
Yeah.
He's a weird combination of aggressive and ineffective. And even though I do see his side of things... I'm ultimately on the side of the Droplaugersons as a reader.
Yeah.
Now, that may be because the Droplaugersons are the ancestors of our author, and so the text is biased.
I agree.
But all I have is the text. Now, about those ancestors, Helgi Droplaugersson, even if I accepted that he's fully justified in his campaign to annoy as Bjarnason, which I'm not convinced of, by the way, he does conspire to murder his own stepfather. A man whose only sin, as far as we know, is that Helgi and Droplaug decide they don't like him. And we just outlawed Droplaug for this exact thing, but Helgi is the one who then murders the murderer, thus covering their tracks.
Vengeance, but whatever.
It's pretty shameless stuff. On the other hand, his brother Grim Droplaugersson is quiet in the early going, but in the second half he turns out to be the most admirable figure of the saga. Yes, he resorts to some conniving tactics and to murder to take revenge for his brother. But having lost most of his friends and allies in the battle some years previously, I don't know that he had another choice. And the drive to avenge a brother is paramount. He's a man of great spirit, a strong and silent type who's a skilled farmer, a strong warrior, a man slow to anger but a merciless foe once his ire is raised. And... he's not too proud to laugh at a boy breaking wind in a Norwegian's face. I'm delighted to have the best of the Droplaugersons as my pick. Grim, you're welcome to pull up a Hneftafel board and a plate of beans in my hall anytime.
Whew. I am so very, very glad that you chose Grim. And I like Grim. He's an interesting guy. He's also probably a work of fiction, but that's neither here nor there.
Irrelevant for our purposes.
Irrelevant. I only ever wanted Helgi Droplaugrsson. And I didn't even bother. This is why I was kind of stressed. I didn't bother preparing anything for any other person here. So if you had picked Helgi D, I would be in very bad shape, as I usually am here.
I think it was fairly obvious what you were going to do based on your shameless defense of him during the Outlaw section. But
no, come now. I could have been defending Grim. Who knows? No, but I mean, honestly, Grim's a good choice. He's an admirable and capable character, and I think you're improving your group by adding him. But there was never a chance that I'd not select Helgi if you allowed me.
Of course. He's a crap disturbing pain in the butt. I don't know.
Look,
I don't know what you'd see in him.
I went into the saga knowing very little about the guy. And as the saga progresses, I'm reading, and he accomplishes this and he accomplishes that and achieves more and more. I like him. And then he gets into that battle, and what a heroic end for Helgi Droplaug. He's able, despite not having the connections and influence of a Helgi Bjarnason, to assert his will on the region both in court and with his sword when necessary. His actions and his many victories throughout the first part of the saga reveal a worthy and capable man. There's a lot to like about Helgi Droplaug. Now, you kind of talked a little bit about what he does, so I'm not going to dwell on him, and everyone knows already. It's clear, though, that Helgi is a hard-as-nails kind of guy, and I trust from his death scene that he'll give me everything he has. And let me add, John, that Helgi's reputation outside of this saga is equally good,
shameful,
if not better. Whereas Grim is an excellent and clever murderer, and as well as a prolific digger of holes, Helgi is well known for his legal prowess, usually besting the best and strongest in court.
I'm going to point out once more that this murder you keep claiming for Grim is the exact same murder that your thingman Gisli Sursen performed.
No, I'm not. I don't remember that. On the field of battle, I'm talking about Helgi now. On the field of battle, he's one of the more impressive and bold heroes that we've ever seen. He's so good, in fact, that the author of Eyrbyggja Saga includes Helgi Droplaug in a list of the top 3 best fighters in Iceland. And he's not number 3, John. If his efforts
yours,
I told you I put a little effort in.
Yeah.
If his efforts in his own saga aren't enough to suggest that he would make an excellent thingman, then we'll eventually see the quality of his character in sharp relief when we get to the saga of the people of Fljótsdal. There he emerges as a true champion who is prepared not only to be a thingman but to lead others. And because of that, I'm very pleased to welcome the great Helgi Droplaug, the best of the Droplaugersons, to the ranks of Andy's thingman.
I appreciate your uncharacteristic depth of research on this one.
I actually had time to prepare today, so it's quite a difference.
And the fact is, I don't think Helgi's a bad choice, but I think given what we know of him in this saga, which is what we're judging him by,
he's pretty awesome.
He is a stepfather murdering malcontent who causes trouble because it amuses him. I think he's a fine choice.
You shame him for what he did for his mother?
Yes.
He is but a boy serving.
Grim did not murder a stepfather to please his mother, because Grim knows his own mind.
Do you know why? Because he was too busy growing wheat and tending the cattle.
All right.
But Helgi's a doer.
We can carry on with this for a while. The end result is we're both pleased with the Droplaug we ended up with.
Very well pleased. Very, very well pleased.
Very good.
Thank you for not making me angry tonight.
Give me time. Final rating. All right. The time has finally come to pass judgment on this saga. Andy, I went first for Thingmen and collected what I think is the superior Droplaug. So I believe you have the honors for this section. What did you think?
I'd say we're both happy with our Thingmen choices. So it's I'll call this one a tie if you want. But
all right,
let's go.
I won't, but okay.
All right, I'm going to start by saying I'm a little bit torn on how to rate this one.
Yeah.
After finishing it for like the 3rd or 4th time in preparation for these episodes, I came to really enjoy it, and I contemplated giving it a score as high as 7. Now, I think if you listen back over the 2 summary episodes...
As high as 7?
That's what I just said. I'm glad your ears work.
Okay. Carry on.
I think if you listen back to the 2 summary episodes, you can hear our growing fondness for the saga. And for anyone who picks this saga up for the first time, let's be honest, the first 3 or 4 chapters are a daunting hurdle to get over. The overwhelming number of family relationships to keep track of and the quick pace of the storytelling are entertaining for people like John and I, but only because we're interested in exploring what those long lists might be communicating to audiences in medieval Iceland. That admittedly takes some patience and some willingness and a little bit of weirdness, and you got to delve deeper than most want to go. But there's something worth paying attention to, so I can't discredit Thorvald Ingildsen too much for the mess he creates there. It's a mess, but a mess with meaning embedded in its layers, I think. Now, if you can make it through those initial chapters, you're rewarded with a pretty interesting story and a fun one. The first half tells of Helgi Droplaugerson's rise and the tragic consequences of that rise. And the saga really comes into its own with the Battle of Eyvindarsdal, and Thorvald Ingjaldsson, or whoever deserves credit for actually writing the thing, begins to flourish. Now, from there we switch to an equally entertaining revenge and then an outlaw story as we follow Helgi's brother Grim as he digs holes, he swims, and plays the active hero after sitting out the first half. And the more I read, the more I kind of like this saga. But as I reflect for the final ratings, it's not a 7. That's ridiculous. While it has strong moments, the saga lacks the kind of depth of character development and plotting that would earn a 7 or more from me. And it's also not the run-of-the-mill average 5, I don't think. It's got enough to earn something like a 5.5 or maybe even a 6. I want to give it a little bit of credit because I think it makes a good sample text for learning about saga writing. It's perfect, and I spend a bit of time doing this, for exploring the interconnectedness of the sagas, and you and I have been doing this for the past few episodes.
Yep.
That experience only becomes richer if you keep going and read on to Fljótsdalr saga. This saga is also useful for teachers and students of saga literature, as well as enthusiasts, if you want to invest some time into researching the debates over the dating of the saga. Following the discussions of its composition and its evolution are actually quite rewarding and interesting. But I digress. I'm going to give this I'm going to give this one a very cheerful 6.5. And I'm going to say, well done, Thorvald Ingjaldsson. Although I suspect you're more of a compiler than an author. And I'm going to cede the remainder of my time to the gentleman from Massachusetts. Go ahead, sir.
I have to say, I am surprised.
Really?
Yes, I am.
I like this one.
What's that?
I like this one.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm surprised by your score. I know the general scholarly consensus is that this saga is a little bit primitive and clumsy, if we can return to Finlay and Christensen's comments.
I think that's reasonable.
But I'd expect you to rate it a little more highly.
I just felt like a 7 suggests something more in terms of its...
Look, yeah, I acknowledge the faults you mentioned. But I think it's important to appreciate just how well our author has done the job he set out to do. Right? This isn't a saga of sweeping scope or international importance. It's a fairly well-contained story about a feud between two brothers and their local chieftain. I enjoyed the episodes early on with Helgi Droplaugersson taking the mickey out of Helgi Asbjarnarson in one legal case after another. I enjoyed the moments of comedy with Thorgrim skin suit's involuntary streak across the countryside.
Yes.
Or our author Thorvald telling the story of his grandfather as a small boy, knocking over a Hneftafel board and then farting at the game's players.
Oh man, that is worth another 0.5 if you really think about it.
It's his own grandfather is the thing that makes that so great. The set piece battle is a masterful piece of work. You compared it to the Iliad, Andy.
Oh yeah.
The Iliad. Favorably. That is heady praise. Not every saga gets compared to the Iliad.
Were that the whole thing were like that?
Well, and Grimm's attack on Helgi Asbjarnarson is suspenseful, it's nicely plotted, and full of well-done character moments.
But like it's also Grimm the same thing that we saw in Gisli's saga.
But we have no way of knowing whether this saga is following or leading the way on those plot points.
I think it's following, but you go ahead. I don't want to take too much.
I think they are sibling texts. I actually think they have a source that they're both referring to.
Okay.
But that's fine. I like the fact that Grimm realizes in the middle of his plan that what he's come up with makes him look bad. When Thorkel Crane says, people are going to think this is a little odd.
Yeah, it's good.
And at that point, he switches places with Thorkel Crane to deliver the killing blow himself. This isn't the perfect saga, but it's absolutely a saga worth reading, and it's full of those little turns, those little moments that I enjoy. It's just the sort of text that I want to see get a lot more attention from readers. For me, this is what Saga Thing is about. Bringing a saga like this and putting it before people and showing them why it's a saga worth reading. I give this an 8. For me, it's a very worthwhile read. Absolutely. It's a very worthwhile read, and I recommend it to anyone wanting to get involved more deeply in the sagas. Yes, you have to get through those first 3 chapters of endless naming, but once you get beyond that, a rewarding saga is going to be your prize.
An 8.
That's right.
I'm shocked. Look, I read it multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
No way is this an 8, buddy.
It's a good saga.
But if you said 7 or even 7.5, I would have been like, yeah, I get it. I was tempted. But an 8, that's pretty... You loved it.
You're splitting some very fine hairs here if you're willing to consider a 7.5 but not an 8.
Well, that's how I judge things. I'm very accurate.
Well, that's exactly what you are. That's the word I was reaching for.
There you go. All right, everyone. That is a 6.5 from me and a shocking 8 from John. I'm curious what everyone else thinks about this.
Like I said, this is what this podcast is for, to bring a saga like this to people's attention.
Absolutely. It's not bad, regardless of what the score is. This is a really good saga that is often derided by critics and ignored by saga enthusiasts.
Yep.
And I say, pick it up. Give it a try. If you can't find a translation, I happen to know that Everyman put out a translation with Droplaug Saga and Fljótsdala Saga.
That's right.
It's out of print, but I know because I ordered one that used copies are available.
Mm-hmm. And with that, we bring the Saga of Droplaug's Sons to a close. Now, we've mentioned it a few times, but we'll be entering our second quarter court after this, which means it's time to start thinking about crowning the champions of our last 10 sagas.
Yes. Now, I will be off to South Carolina soon, where I'll be camping and awaiting the eclipse, but we'll be back very, very soon to review the best of the best candidates from our judgment sections for the quarter court before this month is over. Probably.
Yeah, hopefully the dragon doesn't consume the sun permanently, and we'll all be back soon.
I hope so.
If you're listening to this in the future and the world's been plunged into perpetual darkness, what can I say? Make a sacrifice or two and await the regurgitation of the sun. In the meantime, Andy will be updating the past judgment section on our webpage, sagathingpodcast.wordpress.com.
Yeah, definitely time to catch up there. I've been slacking a bit.
Well, feel free to look over the various winners there and write in your own candidates.
Or send us some questions that you'd like us to answer. We are willing to tackle nearly anything you throw at us.
Yes. And Andy told me off air that he's hoping for some really clever math problems. Don't let him down.
I'm quite certain that I said nothing of the sort. Please don't do that. But whatever you'd like to say to us, you can get in touch with us as always on Twitter, where we are at Saga Thing Pod, on Facebook, where we're Saga Thing Podcast, or through email, where we are sagathingpodcast@gmail.com.
Or you could carry the one, solve for X, and send us your answers showing all your work.
All right. That's a proof.
Yeah, you go.
I remember doing proofs in math class and thinking, why am I doing this? That's all I thought about it.
Because that's what math is.
Yeah, but I mean, I knew the answer, so why do you got to see me solving it?
I think we're starting to see the origins of your problem.
It could be. The calculator told me it was this.
Right.
Why do I have to show you how I got there?
Right. Oh, you have to show the work. It's the new math, Andy. Holistic algebra. Get on board.
Well, interestingly enough, not that we need to digress, but in writing class, I often use that as a metaphor. You have to show me the work of how you got to the idea.
Right. There you go.
There you go. Anyway, this has been fun, everyone. We will see you when the drums sound at the second quarter court.
Oh, dear.
Until then, thanks for listening.
Bye for now.
John, what do you got for us this week?
Well, this saga is about typical for its length. There's about
way to keep the energy up.
Names recorded. Sorry?
I said way to keep the energy up.
Way to keep the energy up?
Yeah, because I gave you this like stellar intro, and then you just go, well, let me tell you something about nicknames. Nicknames are real interesting.
Well, I couldn't hear you. I'm doing the best I can, given that I can't actually hear anything you're saying.
I don't know why you need to hear me.
That's a good point. Why start paying attention now?